Hello my friends, thanks for being here. Look what I have. I'm going to talk about this today. I've been asked a lot about the new Hourglass palettes. It's that time of year where they come out. It's the time of year where holiday releases are starting to trickle into the websites of Sephora and Ulta, and I'm going to be doing a lot of different reviews. But the main thing that's been brought up to me so far from you all is which Hourglass palette are you getting? How are you choosing? And do you think it's worth the price? Because they're pricey. And I feel like I have always veered more toward a drugstore focus on my channel. I think in this past year it's been really intense because I have just found so many amazing drugstore things, and I've not been that impressed with different high-end things that I've used. So yeah, I am a drugstore fan. At the same time, I do really enjoy getting an Hourglass palette. It appeals to me in a number of ways. The convenience factor, the multitasking nature of it all, having a lot all in one, something handy, something easy to use, something nice quality, something hard to mess up. It's got so many things working for it that make me get one year to year, and then 9 times out of 10, I really enjoy the fact that I got it. So what I'm just setting you up here to know is that these Hourglass palettes do tend to have a pretty good track record for me. Now, in the early days of Hourglass palettes, they were just putting out like one. It was kind of nice in the sense that you didn't have to make any choices, but kind of not nice in the sense that it wasn't appealing to people on other ends of the skin tone spectrum. So now we do have options, and it's really for the best, but it does take a little bit of thought because making the wrong choice could be the difference between absolutely loving your palette and wanting to use it all the time and feeling like it's not really serving you well. So I landed on the Swan palette, but in my decision-making process, as I was thinking this through over a period of days, I did not take the purchase lightly. I think I was convinced at one point in time or another that I was going to get each of the other ones, and this is where I landed. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the thought process and the choice to get it, and then I'm going to do an application. I've got my complexion done, but this is going to be all my face color steps, and I'm going to use it on the eyes too. Also, what I've already got on my skin today, I'm wearing the Professional foundation. I wanted something just kind of good coverage, matte, that wouldn't detract from all the different things I'm putting on with this. For example, if there's glow in a product in here, I want you to visibly see where it's coming from and not think, well, her skin was just glowy with foundation. So this is 10N Ace. That's the shade I wear in that. I've got on my Revlon Color Stay Flex Wear Concealer. Shade there is Vanilla. I've already got it stacked up back here, but my Wet n Wild Loose Powder in the light pink shade, and then this Maybelline Super Stay Hybrid Powder Foundation, 128. That's all over the rest of my skin, and I did my brows. Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil and the Morphe Micro Manager Gripping Brow Gel. That's the point we're at now. Just so you know, as you look at me like, what's going on there? Her face kind of looks half done. Now, as I look at Sephora's website right now, I'm shooting this on Thursday morning, I can see all the palettes are out of stock. I think it was just because they were stocking their Sephora exclusive one, and then I don't know if they even released the other 3 yet, because it seems real early for all to be gone. I purchased mine actually off of the Hourglass website, and let me tell you, I was so impressed with the way this was packaged. It was at least 12 feet of like a ripply paper just wrapped around this guy. And by the way, the outer box is just as pretty. Like, I save these boxes and I'll sit them around occasionally. Like, I've got my owl one still over there on a shelf. It's really cool. And on Hourglass's website, you can customize the artwork and you can pick the insides of the palette. It could be different. Like if you were obsessed with the Swan art and you wanted like the lightest color palette on the inside, you could do that. But that's an Hourglass website thing. On Sephora's website, you're going to see they've got this horse palette that's exclusive to Sephora, and then the other 3. Shout out to the artist who did the work on here. Wouldn't it be amazing if Pups Art could get on the outside of Hourglass palettes, her watercolors? I need to campaign for that for next time. But these are absolutely beautiful, and it's Ukrainian tattoo artist Sasha Unisex. And just FYI, they are vegan and cruelty-free. They're trying to reduce the use of plastic by putting them in these tin palettes, and 5% of net profits from the unlocked palettes, as they're called, support the Non-Human Rights Project. As you're making a decision on the palette, you've got to think, do the blushes appeal to me? In my case, I really loved the look of the blushes in here because I felt I was getting 3 distinct options. Number 2, is the ambient lighting powder, the finishing powder, going to be light enough in that palette to not like dull your face down. This one includes dim light, and I felt like it would be good all over my skin and could potentially be even an under eye setting if need be. And then also another question is the bronzer going to show up on you too? Those are the things I'm looking at. And keep in mind that within these Hourglass palettes, not every single shade that's in them is something brand new. In the case of the Swan palette that I have, you have dim light and you have the natural bronze bronzer. Those are not new, but these are the highlighter and the 3 blushes across the bottom. So you can check the layout specifically of all of these on Sephora's website or Hourglass's website if you really don't want to be repeating any shades. For me, I do have experience with dim light and natural bronze. Natural bronze was actually a shade in last year's Evil Eye palette, just so you know. But the first palette I really thought I was going to get was the horse one. That was the Sephora exclusive. I looked at it and I thought, oh, I love those marbled looking shades. I think the ambient lighting powder is going to work for me. I was kind of on the fence on that glistening bronze light because I thought, is that going to be really shimmery? I had some concerns about the intensity of the bronzer, but I like the look of the blushes well enough. However, the blushes in that horse palette really echo what I've seen a lot over the years in Hourglass palettes. It's a medium rosy coral kind of blush. And I thought, you know, it looks really good, but that does just have a really similar feel, a similar look, I should say, to a lot of Hourglass palettes I've tried in the past. So it immediately caught my eye, but that was my pause there. And then I thought, what about the deer one? Because it's the lightest toned one, and I really did enjoy the Dragon palette last year. This was the one I purchased. I happened to get the Evil Eye one sent later on in PR, but this was my choice to buy last year. And it was very light, but it really worked for me. I did feel like this bronzer was dark enough. I still use this all the time. And then it had a couple of different ambient lighting powders that just made everything seem so soft and blurred and good on the under eye, good all over. Then I look at this palette and I think it's got 2 different finishing powders in it as well. One of them is Dreamlight. Dreamlight is also in this one. And so I thought, well, that's not really new. And then I already own diffused bronze light in a single. And the thing about diffused bronze light, because I've had a single and I've had a mini of that, it matters how that marbling is done, because if you get a lot of the light marbling, you're not getting a lot of bronze. And I just thought maybe that's perfect for a fair-skinned person who's assessing the palettes and thinking, you know, I don't want anything too dark, give me all the brightness and the finishing powders. But diffused bronze light, I can love it sometimes, but you don't know exactly what you're going to get with the marbling. So I kind of stepped away from that idea, and I also thought maybe the blushes aren't going to be enough for me either. I don't know why in my figuring it out, I had skipped over thinking about the Swan palette to this point, but I looked at the Fox palette and I thought, I love that Amethyst Haze plummy looking blush that's in the bottom. It reeled me in, it zoned me in. And then I thought, but I'm not so sure about Desert Light as a finishing powder for me. I just don't think it's going to be bright enough, but I love the look of Canyon Heat, that kind of earthy blush in the bottom, the Amethyst Haze. I thought the Bronze Fusion would be a really good bronzer for me. I could see that one working on me, but I just wanted a lighter finishing powder. And then we hop over to the Swan and I'm like, but wait, the Swan's got a great looking, like berryish blush in there too. And hey, it's 3 distinct, really good looking blushes there. I think they're probably going to be about the perfect intensity. If you look at that and then you look at the lightest one, there's such an intensity difference between these blushes and the ones in the Deer palette, you know? So I thought, I think I can get on board with that. It's going to give me dim light, which yes, I already have, but I know I like, and I know I like natural bronze. The Golden Hour highlight seems like that would still be fine for me. So I think Swan palette's where it's at. And so I got it. I used it for the first time yesterday and I was thrilled with it. But yeah, ultimately that's how I weeded things out. I really wanted to take you through the thought process in this video, and it's about how are things going to show up on your skin tone. Are you going to like the blushes, because blush is usually 50% of what's happening in these palettes. So are you going to enjoy those, and is what's supposed to be brightening and finishing going to be light enough for you, and is the bronzer going to give enough contrast? And then beyond that, you know, if you want certain lids, if you wanted this palette spread, but you wanted the deer on it, you go over to Hourglass's website and you can sort that all out, okay? You can pick. But I just went with the Swan palette, and what comes in it is this stuff. I would love to hear in the comments section, you know, how you chose a palette. What are the priorities to you as you pick one? Seeing as, like I said, I had just bought last year the lightest, brightest one. I could have gone that direction again, but I just, I had hesitation with it. One more thing before I get into the application. You might think, well, okay, Okay, we've sorted through the decision-making process, but I've never tried one of these before. Maybe you're thinking that. And what is the point? Like, what is the big draw? It's expensive, and okay, it's a multi-shade face palette, but why this? Why do we love this so much? And I will say there is something very special about the texture of Hourglass powders. When you're utilizing all parts of this for your full face, there's like even the softest sheen in shades that don't seem that shimmery, and it makes them very forgiving. Also, not a ton comes off on your brush. Like, we're not talking the most loud, wild pigment with these different shades. And so when you're working with them, there's a sense of ease. There's a sense of, this is hard to screw up. Like, I'm seeing plenty of pigment on my face, but I'm not overloaded in any one way. And then the way they cater to giving you finishing powders, when you implement that at the end of your look or throughout your application process, it ends up looking so good. So they are a really special texture. In the description of the palettes, they say that these are formulated with photoluminescent technology to diffuse surrounding light for skin that appears lit from within. So I've always gotten such satisfaction about the way the Hourglass palettes make my skin look, particularly if I've honed in on a shade selection that really gives me the vibrance that I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Something that does enough for me. I can really be satisfied with it. But also with Hourglass palettes, you're balancing the practical and the impractical. You know, like, okay, did I need a palette with artwork on it? Did I need a palette with a mirror and kind of a heavy, luxurious packaging? It's fancy, you know? Then on the other hand, I find it very practical because they've put these 6 products in one little compact that is extremely travel friendly. It's extremely like time saving if you just bust through all the steps. I continue to use Hourglass palettes all the time in my makeup, and even past ones that you don't hear me talk about a lot on my channel. You know, I'm not shooting YouTube videos every single day here, and I think that's a great time to use a palette that's maybe not accessible or relevant anymore. You know, I can still get use out of those, but I love using them. I love the idea of multitasking. I love multifaceted palettes. And I'm sorry if you came for the application, I'll have to put like timestamps somewhere because I've talked a lot so far. But their kind of baked texture is just really, really good. And I'll talk at the end, I hope I don't forget, I want to talk at the end about where your alternatives are. If you like this idea, but you're absolutely not going to buy this, but you like the idea of multi-face palettes, we're going to talk about a couple of other things that you might want to think about. I made you wait long enough on the application, so let's go there now. I'm going to use this bronzer. I'm going to use my Sephora angled brush. This is the bronzer in Natural Bronze. And I'm just going to start working that in on my skin. It's not like super deep and dark. It's a soft bronzer, but it does get the job done and it does show on me. And I also kind of like that it's fairly cool. It's a very contour friendly bronzer if you want to use it to kind of help chisel out your cheeks a little bit. But I'm using it pretty softly there on my hairline. But when we're talking hard to mess up, like, you will note as you put your brush into Hourglass powders, they don't kick up a cloud of fallout and dust. There's a little more firmness to them, but they're pigmented enough, and I really enjoy that. All of my thought process is based on pictures that are online, and there's a chance I could still really enjoy one of the other designs as well, but I feel like I landed on the right one because I do love blush, and I love these 3 distinctly different blushes that happen to get in this one palette. And I could have gone with any of the artwork designs. You know, that was not a driving factor in my choice. I thought they all looked cute. See how we were able to have a soft, really natural contour here, legit contour out of this palette? And then our 3 different blushes. We've got Luminous Coral, this is called Sunset Flush, and this is called Mauve Fusion. So let's take an up-close look. This one actually is marbled, and like I said, what drew me in so much about the deeper palette was that blush shade, and then I'm like, oh wait, they've got something pretty rich and vibrant in this one. So there's swatches of those 3. I'm going to use the Mauve Fusion because I think that might be where the most questions lie about how that applies and how it looks on. So I'm going to go in here with my e.l.f. blush brush. And I think it's absolutely great. I used this one yesterday too. And then later in the day when I touched up, I like added in some of the coral. But that is so beautiful. I love how it's giving color, but I don't have to be that careful with it. Somebody out there saying, Em, when are you ever careful with blush? Valid. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for the nice feedback. This is my first video I'm doing since like having posted my Tuesday video this week, and I was talking about Rhett and his experience starting kindergarten and all the nice comments in the comments section from like parents and educators and just you all as friends. It was so nice. It was so supportive. And I just want to say thank you to anybody who took the time out of their day to like comment on there and share with me. That really means a lot. So thank you. At the time I shot my last video, that one hadn't yet gone up. So I just wanted to make sure you knew how appreciative I was on that. It was my Catrice video. But this is interesting. It's actually a pretty vibrant, like fuchsia looking blush with some rather dark plum in the marbling. I'm building slightly. You end up getting such a pretty, soft, kind of flawless look. Now what would happen if we took some of this middle shade? Again, this is called, I think it's Sunset Fusion. No, Sunset Flush. Kind of a light peach right here in the middle. What does that do? I feel like this is going to be your instant warmth giver because, you know, we've had kind of a cooler bronzer. The mauve blush is kind of cool, but if you wanted to pop in a little more warmth, like there's a cheek with it, there's a cheek without it. I can see it. I'm not putting on too much because, let's face it, I already have a whole blush on. But I think that's pretty and I like the finish of it too. I might just go right over the nose. Nice. Now, one thing you can do too is you could take your finishing powder. If you were like just trying to use this purely as your powder palette, you could use your finishing powder like up on your under eye area. That's dim light. I always talk about not wanting powders to dim me down on my under eye area, but dim light is not a dark powder, so it could be used up under there. But before we get to doing finishing powder, we're going to use the highlighter. That is called Golden Hour, right up here. So I'm going to dip into that gently with my Real Techniques setting brush, and this can be pretty bold actually. I've had some Hourglass palettes where the highlighter hasn't been super duper bold, but this one has a lot of glowy potential. So as you can see, I'm kind of lightly touching it over areas where I want it to be, and then I'm going to clean my brush off so as to not like end up applying more than I want, and then I just buff over top. Oh, it just makes your skin look healthy. It reminds me honestly a lot of Daybreak Glimmer from the Revlon Skin Lights highlighter that I use a lot. It gives you that dewy appearing freshness, but there's just a little golden sheen in it. It would still work really well for light skin tones too, but man, ooh, don't you love that look? And then this is like your softening filter is using that finishing powder on top. So I'm going to get like, this is my round tapered powder brush, the PD8. If you buy your Profusion buffing brush, this I believe is the powder brush that comes in the trio. And then you get this little guy as well, which would be a perfect highlighting brush. These finishing powders, it's kind of hard to describe them. They're not shimmery shiny, but they're not 100% matte, but they're just like, they might give you the absolute softest pearlescent glow. And each one is different from the next, but look at how it looks as I just kind of dab it over top. I'm applying basically like a filter to my skin. Do you see how that kind of softened our highlighter just gently? And everything just looks smooth. I will fully admit my blush does not always look this smooth, you know? And another thing about Hourglass palettes that I hear a lot of feedback on from different people is that like the texture of the powders are thin and light and they layer up looking really good on people with different skin concerns like texture or fine lines. A shimmer, like in the case of this one, it can really be controlled. It's in that highlighter, but you can use it softly, but everything else just looks really, really flattering. And I think it's interesting how like in a world where we have had such an explosion of cream blushes and liquid blushes, cream bronzers, cream contours, Hourglass is still going to come out with their little powder palette and remind us year after year that the use of multiple powders layered together in the right texture is going to look beautiful. So that's my face look. I'm going to continue on for an eye look now. And maybe while I do this, I could kind of discuss some of the other alternatives. I am going to base with the Milani eyeshadow primer. Hi, Bisky. But I was thinking about Laura Geller palettes actually, because Laura Geller has a tremendous baked texture. We're talking Emily Award-winning blushes, bronzers, for years. I really enjoy what Laura Geller has going on there. But the thing about her formula is it's not going to be quite as subtle as these. So a little bit stronger pigment, which might be what some people are looking for. And for example, I'm not sure if this particular palette I'm about to show you is still being sold, but it makes me think of Hourglass a little bit. Like, I love and to this day continue to use my Cheek to Chic Tropical Glow face palette, couple bronzers, couple of blushes, a highlighter that's more subtle. This, I would not call that really ambient lighting powder, but it's a subtle highlight, and then a more bold highlight. So I do love that. But something you're going to note here, there is a lot of wasted space. It's a bulkier, boxier palette compared to this little guy, right? I mean, we can all see that. However, if you're wanting to experience Laura Geller, this is going to come in at regular price, I'm sure, at least 20 bucks under this. And so often on laurageller.com, you're going to see a 40% off sale or a half off sale, and you can save even more. A couple different takes on her like baked full face palettes. And this is where she puts in like bronzer, blush, 2 highlighters, and like 3 eyeshadows. Once again, with the less practical design here. This is a bulky palette, but again, I love Laura Geller's formula. I love what she's doing. Some of the things that make Laura Geller special to me, you know, I can enjoy them over here and I can enjoy Hourglass over here, but it's kind of different reasons. Laura Geller, I think, brings more pigment, a little more boldness compared to the way these apply. But that's a way you can experience another really good baked texture at a lower price. And from the drugstore, here's where I'm saying drugstore brands, get on board with the full face palettes. Like, couldn't you see L'Oreal doing something great, like sticking all their infallible stuff in a palette? L'Oreal, you've already got the formulas, just put them in there and include some kind of a lightweight finishing powder in there. You know, go head to head on this. This would be great. Wouldn't you love to see Revlon getting into this game, expanding Skin Lights and putting, you know, Skin Lights highlighter, and they've got some good blushes. Let's do this. Let's get this going. Milani, you know, they had kind of a full face palette idea with some eyeshadows in it too. Didn't always love the configuration of tones, but let's just do something about the face. Now, here's where you can find it. The Butter Dream Team palette from Physicians Formula. If what's resonating with you right now is thinking, I'm not so concerned with having the Hourglass formula, but I just want the convenience of a lot of face steps in one, then this will get you there. 2 bronzers, 2 blushes, a highlighter, and an all-over kind of translucent setting powder. Use it how you want to use it type of powder. And also, I've layered these two, and it's like you create light pink setting powder if you want to. This is awesome. Okay, I do love this. Now, practicality-wise, again, it's a bigger footprint than the Hourglass, but this is very inexpensive and it's a great one to have. One thing to note though, if you're sensitive to fragrance, this definitely has that strong butter bronzer tropical scent going on, and some people may feel funny about putting something heavily scented on their eyes if they want to multitask with it that way. It hasn't bothered me personally, but I'm just letting you know this is very fragranced, and I don't want that to surprise somebody if they get it and think, oh, didn't see that coming. But that's a terrific palette option as well. I've explained all the ways I feel like this is extra special, but those are some other things that I would recommend. But now we're gonna do a quick eye look here. I'm gonna take my crease brush and I'm gonna use this bronzer, okay? You can do this all the time. You know, like so many people love to just get a quick eye look out of bronzer. And yeah, it's completely doable. There's no reason why this can't work. So I'm just applying this shade to my crease. But keep in mind, getting a Hourglass palette that might be too light for your skin tone, the bronzer might not become as good of an eyeshadow for you, if it's not dark enough. There's that in my crease. Then to get a little more pinpointed application of it, I would take a flat brush and go into the bronzer. And gosh, I love having the mirror, It's so handy. I remember giving birth to my fall and winter babies, and like an Hourglass palette would be in my bag that I took to the hospital. So as you can see, we're just kind of connecting in with the crease shade a little bit. Wipe it off and think, like, how vibrant do I want to be on my lids? Do I want to be really, really nude and just no shine? Maybe you go to the dim light. I'm going to go for a little shine and sheen. I'm going to go into that highlighter. Highlighter wants to sing. And you know what else I was thinking? The fact that I love berry lips. Go a little strong with the blush on this, and then maybe work it in as an eyeshadow, and then also apply a berry lip color. Oh. How would you use it as eyeshadow, Em? Okay, I'll do it today. Go in. I love the way that's swirled. I haven't tried this yet, but I just have a feeling it's gonna work. Sheared out as an eyeshadow, that shade's a little different. See how that's not super purpley? I don't know, I get a more purpley vibe out of seeing it in the pan, but applied to the skin, it's just a little more earthy. But I am seeing some reddishness coming out. And I'm just putting it up and it can show itself. We're on the cusp of a 3-day weekend because there's like a teacher in-service day on Friday, so whoop whoop. Looky there. Oh, I love that. You know, I would add more of the blush too. I didn't need to really, but I love that. My blush loving self is really pleased with this palette, more so than maybe the last several years of Hourglass palettes, honestly. I'm glad I got this. I am a lover of drugstore makeup, but this is one of those luxury things where I feel like I will use it, I will love it, it will be worthwhile to me. I'm gonna finish my look, so that means I'm gonna do maybe a little lazy liner and some mascara, figure out a lip color, and I'll show you how it all came together. Here's my finished look. I love the way this turned out. Okay, I went off of like the depth, you know, with the lip a little bit. I didn't go real like purpley berry, but I went just softly berry. But here's what I did with the eyes. Brown Abyss across the upper lash line just gives me that soft definition. And then I used Magnetic Bronze. It's softer little buddy. I used that on the lower lash line and put on Too Faced Ribbon Wrap, just top and bottom today. Oh, it is working so well for me. I'm in such a sweet spot with this mascara. Can you see my length? Yes, I love it. And then on my lips, I thought let's use the lifter liner in the shade Big Lift, I believe it is. Oh man, I've used it down a little bit. I gotta take the cap off to, yeah, Big Lift. And then I use this e.l.f. Glow Reviver Melting Lip Balm in the Yummy Gummy shade. So it's like kind of deep mauve, softly berry. I thought it was playing off the cheek and the little eye haze a little bit there, and I love that. So yes, welcome to my home, Swan. I will treat you well. I will use you often. I'm coming away really happy with the choice I made. Again, these palettes contain a lot of blushes. If you're not happy with the blush selection, that's like 50% of what's happening in most of these. So I love the blushes. The coral's really pretty too. You'll see that coming out to play in a future video, no doubt. The bronzer is working for me, and I just love this beautifully blended, pretty end result that I get with this palette. And you know, the real X factor in these palettes that usually isn't my emphasis for decision making, but can really change your look a lot, is the highlighter. Because if you use a lot of it, like I felt like I went soft, but I'm still seeing so much glow here right now. But you can use a lot of the highlighter or hardly any or none of the highlighter and really change the way your face is looking. But yay for space-saving, multitasking, cute and luxurious, but ultimately the most important, great quality on the inside. I love it. I'm a fan. Please let me know in the comments section if you've got any questions. I would love to hear your thought process as you choose one of these palettes or choose not to get one of these palettes. You know, what are your priorities? What's going through your mind? What one did you end up getting? Do you have it yet? Let's chat about it. Again, mine came from the Hourglass website because I'm not sure what Sephora is doing with their availability or the timing on that yet. Yeah, thank you so much, friends. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.